This is Matt from MGMT Boston. On this episode of The Lantern, we are with the CEO of CloudZero, Phil Pergola, to talk about what his business is, what's going on inside one of the fastest growing startups in Boston. Phil, thanks for having me to your office today.
Yeah, great to be here, Matt.
So first, most obvious question, tell us what CloudZero is. What are you and your team building?
So companies that are building software these days, their primary development platform is the public cloud. And companies are forecasted to spend about $700 billion this year in the public cloud, and about 30% of that is actually waste. So we're helping companies get visibility into what drives their cloud spend, and with that visibility, take an engineering-led approach to not only reduce their costs, but to improve their unit economics.
Now, there's a ton going on inside of your company. You had a big fundraise this year. I think you managed north of $14 billion in cloud spend. What are some of the highlights that you would share with other members of the Boston startup community about what's going on inside of CloudZero entering the fall?
In the last year at CloudZero, we raised $56 million Series C. We're coming up actually on our year anniversary, opening our Boston office. So we opened an office in Post Office Square. From a headcount growth perspective, we're going to be eclipsing 200 employees with about 20% growth. That's about 40 people that we hired, with many of them in the Boston area. We're just really focused on continuing to grow the business, both from a top-line perspective, but more importantly, just delivering value for our customers.
Now, as a CEO, you've obviously learned a ton from this. You have a great operating background at VMware and other startups, so you've been doing this for a little while. What are some of the learnings that you would pass back to other builders who want to know what it takes to reach this level of scale?
I think a lot of my experience comes from my early startup experience, having worked for a company that grew from literally $1 million in revenue to eventually going public and then acquisition. I think a lot of it is just, first and foremost, taking the risk of getting into a startup and putting in whatever work is necessary to make sure it's successful, surrounding yourself with awesome people. Because the reality is that the people that you work with in the trenches at those companies, later on, they're part of your network, and you're either going to work together again and or you're going to leverage that network as, customers, partners. Sure. So I think surrounding yourself with really good people and taking the chance and using that to continue to learn and grow through a growth mindset.
And last but not least, how can we help CloudZero grow here in Boston and far beyond?
We are hiring. So first and foremost, we're always looking for strong leaders. We've got heavy concentration of R&D as well as go-to-market roles here, but really every role we're recruiting for in the Boston area at various points in time. And then the second thing is we love working with startup and fast-growing companies, digital companies, really any company in the Boston area that has software engineers that are building software in the cloud. And so we love having them as our customers.
This is Phil Pergola, the CEO of CloudZero. Matt from MGMT Boston, this episode of Lantern. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Matt.